Hey guys, what's up? One thing I always want to talk about on my channel is games that really pissed me off, or really hard games that I've played over the years, or maybe like a hard part in a game that I struggled with, and talk about that. Now, just a full disclaimer, these games are not bad, what I'm about to talk about, with the exception of maybe a few considered by many people online. But I don't view them that way. But yeah, I'm going by a bunch of games I played on the PC, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and even one on the GBA, which I'll talk about. So I guess I'll go to the first one, which ironically is actually the PC one I was talking about. And this game was not hard. This also got ported to the PS1. But there was a part in this game that really I could not figure out. I had to have help from my my parents. And that's Emperor's New Groove for the PC. Yeah, Emperor's New Groove. There was a part in this game where you had to run away from like all of the what was it? The wolves, and you had to go around and stuff as Cusco. That really was so hard to me as a kid. Now it's easy, but at the time it said, oh, you need to press the space bar to yeah, I should look at the camera more. You need to press the space bar to go around, and it was hard as like a 4-year-old or whatever to do it. And then years later, it's like, oh, you only need to press Z and X or whatever, and it's like so easy. So I kind of like whatever, but it's a really good game. I recommend it, of the PS1 or PC. Next is kind of in the similar vein. Another game that also got ported to the PS1 is Dinosaur. You know, based on that dinosaur movie that Disney had way back in the day that very few people remember for some reason. Anyway. But yeah, there was a part in this where you had to play as Aladar, and you had to press the space bar to charge and run against from these other dinosaurs that were about to eat you in this cave. And you had to go through this one part where there were like these two pillars that blocked them. That was really hard for me as a kid. And then just to try to figure out what to do after, man, that was tough. But I did complete it a long time ago, but it's been over 10 years. I need to play that game for sure. That's my original copy too. Yeah. Alright, there we go. Next up we have Battle Tanks Global Assault. Now, this game goes a little easy on you because it has a code system, so you can, if you die, you could just enter a code later on to the level. So it's a little forgiving, but it was still pretty tough because, you know, a lot of the other tanks were more powerful, or there's like bombs going around. But it's a good game. It's a really good game. Battle Tanks. This is actually one of the first PS1 games I ever owned. Also, look at this. You are Griffith Spade, Battle Lord in the year 2006. That's totally what happened in 2006. Anyway. But yeah, it's a good game for sure. Next, I have not played this game since, not even joking, when I was like 5 years old. And that was like 20 years ago. But my cousin had the PC version of this. And that's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Again, I can't really say. I need to replay this to see if it's really that tough. But I remember me and my cousin were trying to get through a part. I think it's actually pretty early on in the game where you have to save all the kids from being attacked in that city, and you have to we could not figure out how to jump over bridges and stuff. It was... But I'm sure I could probably beat it now, but that was 20 years ago. But I remember liking what I played as a kid. Next up is actually a game I played on the channel, and that's PacMan World. Like I said, the whole game is not hard if you like know what you're doing. Like, it's kind of cryptic platformer, you know, like a cryptic platformer if you didn't grow up with these games or these types of platformers. But the part where the lava monster, like where you had to go on those conveyor belts to go up and to like open the mouth, it may not seem like it on my gameplay, but that took, not even kidding, over 90 tries. Because there's so much crap that is thrown at you, it's unbelievable. And the boss battle was kind of a pain too, but, you know, that's to be expected. Although, it's a really good game. I actually had to cut some of that attempt out of my original. I'll admit it. You know, it would have taken like way more parts, and people would have had to see me fail a lot. So, be glad you didn't see the full cut. But yeah, it is a good game. The first PacMan World. All right, now we go on to PS2 games. First one is actually the first true crime game on PS2. There was a part in this game, I should hold it up like this. There was a part in this game where, well, two in particular. The one where you had to go, like, you had to drive from one part of town to another, that took me forever. And my friend Forever Retro 82 can detest to that as well. It really pissed me off, that part. And it's like, it's hard because there's a time limit, and it's really hard to know where you have to go, and it's like there's traffic everywhere. Oh, and the end battle was a pain too. That took me forever as well. I think I finally got it after like maybe 30 tries, but still. Another good game, the first true crime game. I prefer the sequel though. Next up is Dragon Ball Z, the first Dragon Ball Z Budokai game. Like I said, this game is not hard per se, but the end battle with Cell, man, talk about OP, really. Like, Cell is like, how do I, he like knows your every move and knows how you're gonna pull it. It's really frustrating, but I did beat it, but oh man, I want to throw my controller so bad. Definitely a boss battle if I've seen one. Then we got, there's two games called this, Dark Angel. This is James Cameron's Dark Angel, based on the TV show. There are parts in this game that really deplete your health so much. It's unbelievable. Actually, wait a minute. Do I have... Hold on. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, never mind. I was thinking of another game. And there's parts where you have to sneak through. And if you get caught, you'll just die instantly. Especially this one part near the game where they really do trick you. And it really is rigged, because it's like, if you try to cheese a certain part when you try to sneak through, I think it's like in the junkyard area part, or it's like a junkyard. Oh man, that really pissed me off. It seems, it's not broken-ish, it's just more like unfair. It seems like it really was unfair, but it is a good game, but just be warned, if you're going to play this, prepare to rage, really. And we got Dragon Rage for the PS2, made by 3DO. This game, you play as a dragon and you go through a bunch of stuff. I'm stuck at this one part where you have to do like 3 things at one time. And it's just, like, the whole game is not hard, but that part in particular was just like, it seems like you have to do so much in a matter of time. Plus the frame rate isn't that good either, so it doesn't really help. But it's a good game as well, for sure. Next up, it's not so much as a hard game as, like, it's hard to, like, figure out what to do. And that's Headhunter, the first Headhunter on PS2. I know this is originally a Dreamcast game, as far as I know. But figure out where to go in certain parts. And also, it does seem a little cheap near the end for the boss battle. But it was a good game for its time, and I intend to pick up the sequel one day, for sure. Oh, and it doesn't help that there's, like, it's, like, skill-based, and you have to, like, know... It's like puzzles, you know? So, you know, if you're not good with puzzles, then you're gonna really struggle with this game. I think I'll save that for last. Next up is Stolen for the PS2, which was made by a very little-known company, Hip Games. This game was... They're trying to do Splinter Cell, and not a great way of doing it. But the thing is with me is that I'm not that good with stealth games to begin with, so I'm usually pretty crap when it comes to these games. But, like, it's possible to totally do it if you cheese it. Like, you'll get caught, but you could just go through and just defeat the enemies. But it's really, as far as, like, doing stealth in this game, don't even try. It's not worth it. It's a decent game, though. It's, you know, it was like $2, so. Oh boy, this game. Alright. Project Eden. Another kind of forgotten game. You have to control 4 people, and you have to figure out puzzles. Now, it's thankfully untimed, but it's so long. It goes on and on and on. It's a decent game, but it's definitely one of those games that are meant for the multi-tap. Because if you do this by yourself, it's much harder. Because only certain characters can do certain things. And I think that's what they were meant to do, but the thing is with the PlayStation 2 is that they didn't have 4 ports with the original PS2, so it's like everyone had to get a multi-tap, and I think they really promoted the multi-tap for games like this. But I don't know. It's a decent game. It's not bad, but it's just really long and just kind of like... It's hard to figure out certain things, especially. Like, you're going to have to look up a walkthrough, I'm pretty sure, with that game. Next up is a really good game. This is a remake of an arcade game, and that's the first Spy Hunter game. Now, Spy Hunter, I remember playing. I did the first mission. I got to the end. I was like, oh, okay. But you forgot to do all this stuff. And then it's like, okay. So I went back and did all the stuff. What they don't tell you is you have to do a bunch of stuff in the level within an amount of time. So if you don't do it within a certain amount of time, that says you will not progress through the game. I don't know why they did that. That was stupid of them to do so. I thought they should have just, hey, you should do these things, and there, you win. You can progress, but no, they had... I mean, I will admit, it gives you a challenge, that's for sure. But it was tough. It was not a walk in the park. But it is a good game for what it is, and I have yet to play the sequels. I know one of them has, like, The Rock in it. They were going to make a movie on that, and they never did. Next up is Shinobi. You know, based on the original game series. It's tricky, but it has a certain attack system. So you have to charge up your strength by killing a bunch of enemies. And by killing enemies, that just makes you stronger. And it has a lot of boss battles too, so it's like... That's kind of what the trick is, but I didn't know this when I played the game, so... If you don't know that, then it's very tough, but... And they do throw a lot at you. Let's be real. Like... If you don't know what you're doing, and they throw a lot at you, it's going to be very, very hard to get through, but it is a fun game, and it was worth it to beat near the end. Oni. Kind of looks like the chick from Ghost in the Shell. I think that's what they were going for. This is made by Rockstar, by the way. But this game, on easy mode, is actually unforgiving. Like, you have to block, and and they don't give you much ammo when you have many guns. So it's like, it kind of just goes like that. And there are times when you die, and it just starts you all the way back to the beginning. Very few checkpoints. They go by areas, which is like similar to another game I'm going to talk about here. But I had to beat this game the first time with cheat codes. And then years later I replayed it without cheat codes. And it was just like... Man, it's tough. Even on easy mode, it's still very hard. And it's a shame that's so hard, because it really is I think if it was executed better, it really would have been more of a classic. But I don't know. It's set. I just wish it wasn't as hard as it was, but, you know, what can you do? It's still a good game, though. Next up is Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament. Very hard fighting game. There were times where the opponent in this was so cheap that it was like they were so overpowered and you barely had anything. So I had to replay a bunch of stages and stuff like that. I did beat it, but it's been a long time. I need to replay it again for sure, but it was good. And I'm not even that much of a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, which is interesting. I need to watch it for sure. I know they used to play it on Cartoon Network. Yeah, I think they used to play... It was either Cartoon Network or Adult Swim. I think it was Cartoon Network. But yeah. Tough game, for sure. Alright. Next up, we have Men in Black 2. Alien Escape. They also put this out on Gamecube, I believe. Alright, I'm going to give you some word of advice. Play as Tommy Lee Jones's character in this. Do not, I repeat, do not play as Will Smith, because you will die so fast. It's like not even funny. And you have to have the gun that blasts 3 and keep doing that, or else you will not win this game, because it is so unfair. Like, I thought this was going to be a really walk in the park, but the game creators didn't know how to balance health with enemies and yourself, and how much it's almost like you have to shoot more at the enemies to kill them than they shoot at you to kill you, if that makes any sense. But yeah, you won't win if you play as Will Smith, which is ironic, because I think they made this to capitalize on the second Men in Black. But yeah, it's just a real letdown. It's decent, but you know. Oh boy. This game, Stuntman, for the PS2. Words cannot describe how much this game has pissed me off. Like, this game totally pissed me off in words you will not believe. You have to be absolutely perfect to beat this game in any way. And if you mess up at all or too much, the director's like, "That's too slow. That's too slow. That's not, you didn't do that much." And it makes you want to break the dude's neck. This is like, as far as like hard games go, this is like number 5. Top 5 right here. I beat it, and I remember when I beat it, I had such a sigh of relief. I'd never wanted to play this game again. And if any one of you wants to do a gameplay of this and wants to see me rage, that'll be a cold day in hell. But you will pull your hair out if you play this game. And there's a sequel to this too, which I'm scared to play. I might play it, but I feel like it's going to be kind of like the same thing. It's okay though. Now here's the hardest game I'd probably say, next to one of the couples, like, this is definitely number 1. I would say the hardest game I've ever played. And that's Alter Echo for the PS2. This game is so impossible to get beat without any cheats. I feel like playing this with cheats is really the only way to even play this. Because if you play it without, it takes like 2 or 3 or 4 hits total to kill you. And there's no checkpoints. Once you die, back to the beginning of the level. And it's like that every single time. It really angered me really bad. It's an okay game, graphics-wise, gameplay-wise, but it is so unfair. that might not be anyone else's experience with this game, but me and my friend were talking about this, and my friend's cousin even said that it was BS. Now that we got that out of the way with the PS2 games, talking about Gamecube games. I kind of go in the similar route. Jam Vendetta. Very fun wrestling game. But in story mode, there's a specific part where you wake up, your character wakes up, and you're surrounded by a bunch of these guys who are so overpowered and they really beat you. And unless if you know what you're doing, unless if you spam special moves or whatever, you won't win. It's, again, very unforgiving. And it's almost like they did that. That's actually the hardest part of the game. The final boss battle, or one of the final boss battles, was like a walk in the park. It's like, really? They saved the hardest part for like near the final part of the game, but not the final part, which I found really strange. With that being said, it's a very fun game. I don't have Fight for New York City because that is like costs like an arm and leg, but I will get it one day. I was actually surprised to get this for like $7. Now it goes for like 40 or something like that. Next up we have Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, it's been over 15 years since I've played this, easily. I used to have it on the PS2. They don't explain where you have to go, for the most part. Like, I remember trying to figure out something to do with one of the old man. I think, not the old man character, but he was like an old man later in the game. And they tell you, like, oh, you have to do this. I went everywhere. And they didn't explain. And it's like, I don't know where to go. Now, granted, it's been almost over 15 years, so I might replay it. Maybe I'll figure out then. But 9-year-old me was so angry. I think I actually like gave that away on the PS2 because I don't have that anymore. I just recently got it's a Blockbuster incomplete copy, but you know, and it's fun, but you don't know where you have to go most of the time. Burnout, first Burnout. I mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about my friend Chris's GameCube collection. It's a great game, but it's so hard. It's not impossible, but it's very, very frustrating. Because there's a lot of cars that are coming by so quick, and it's like you have to really react so fast. And it's hard. It's a good game, don't get me wrong. It's very fun when it can be, but it can also really piss you off. And it did with me, especially near the end. You have to win, and it was honestly a miracle that I even got to the end. It was so difficult. And I heard the sequels are even the same way too, which I have, but I haven't played those yet. Excuse me. Now the first Naruto Clash of Ninja, easy game. I love this game. The sequel, on the other hand, is a really good game too. But man, I think the people who worked on the first game were like, hey, people thought the first game was way too easy. You know what we need to do for the sequel? Make it trillion times more difficult. And they did that indeed. There are some battles in this game, and I don't even have it, but I used to have another Naruto game that was really difficult as well. That was Uzumaki Chronicles, but I gave that to a neighbor that's no longer around. But man, this was so difficult. Especially some like the extra missions and whatnot. They had to fight. Man, I had to cheat. Like, not cheat, but like I had to really like spam special attacks to even win some of the missions. But with that being said, it's a good, really good game. Especially if you want to play against friends. If you have any friends to play this with, but... Because it's definitely got more of a roster of characters compared to the first one. The first one had like... The first one was kind of short, and I think they made it a little too early on. I think they made it like... Well, it's like the first Naruto series, so it's like... I don't know, like only covers like the first 30 episodes or something like that. This covers like a couple more seasons of the first series, but yeah, it was tough. But I did 100% it. Next up, not too much of a hard game, but near the end, when you play against Boo, it gets kind of difficult, and that's Monsters Inc. Scream Arena. Now, it's a fun game, don't get me wrong, and I have a lot of memories with this. And for the most part, it's pretty much a walk in the park if you know what you're doing. But Boo took me a long time to beat. At the very end. And that really was... But it thankfully wasn't as like much as I wanted it to. It wasn't thankfully as much more needed than I did. Like, it wasn't super, super hard is what I'm saying. But yeah. Good game, but yeah. Be wary near the end that it gets difficult. Very difficult. I've debated on whether or not I should add this one. It's definitely tough, but you have to kind of know what you're doing to beat it, and that's Spawn Armageddon. Very fun game, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of good times with this one. It's definitely tough, but it's beatable. But there are a couple of parts in this game, specifically the one boss battle where it's like in a ditch, not a ditch, but like an alley. That took a while to figure out. And I will admit, like, I think some of the, they could have been a little more generous with the, not chapters, but checkpoints. They could have been a little more generous, but it's still a good game. You know, it didn't really piss me off, but that's a good one. This one did. Turok Evolution on the Gamecube. Excuse me. This game needed checkpoints. There were times in this game I got so far and I almost beat it, only to die and have to do all over again, and it's really far back, and it really upset me. But the worst part about this game, now it's a decent game, but the hardest part in particular were the flying sections. I cannot tell you how many times I've died in those flying sections than any other part in this game. You die, go back. And there's barely any there's check areas, like I said. There's check arenas, but, like levels, but they should really have done checkpoints. And I get it. It's supposed to make the game a little more tough, which I understand. And it's an M-rated game, but still. Oh, and the load times are not forgiving either. The load times really pissed me off. And that was on the Gamecube. So, I found it kind of just weird. Almost done. PacMan Vengeance. Great game, but there was a part in this game that really upset me. It was like actually near the end, where you had to fight all those guys before you get into Joker's like plane. It was like a little before that. And it's like, again, more like a health imbalance, I think. They hit you more, your health depletes. You hit them, and their health barely depletes. But it's a fun game, and it's almost like you're playing an episode of the Batman animated series on a video game. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. But yeah. It's fun, but just be aware of that part that you might struggle with it. Another game that really was like, it's not a bad game, but it just like kind of like doesn't really get to the point as much. It's really hard to pull off certain things, and that's the second Hitman game. I haven't even beaten it yet, to be honest, because it's like figuring out what to do is like hard. Because they barely explain it. Like, they'll go through it, sure. But it's like, oh, you gotta do this, this, this. And it's like, when you sneak, you don't know where an enemy is gonna be. So you have to start all the... Oh, I think, yeah, this is one where you actually start the beginning of the game, like the level. I think it barely has any checkpoints. Like, it has checkpoints, but barely. That kind of was, like, angering. And plus, I don't know. I will go back to it and I will beat it. In fact, I should do that very soon. But yeah, it was not easy. Still not easy. Next up we have Aquaman for the Gamecube. Now I know a lot of people say this game sucks, which, to be fair, it's basically a GameCube-ified, modded Superman 64. How much you feel about that game or not. Now, on easy mode, it's pretty easy. And that's really it. If you play it on any other mode, it's unforgiving, and it seems like it's impossible. Because you're fighting all of these enemies, but your attacks are so slow. It's like... And you get attacked, like, non-stop. And there's enemies in the back you can't even attack. Because they go around you. And that's, like, unfair. But I think that's more of, like, a broken mechanic than really... skill-wise. Oh, in the end battle, you can't beat unless if you grapple and attack. That's the only way you're gonna beat the boss. If grapple attack, you'll win. There is no other way to beat the boss. And it takes forever, too. Okay. Save these three for last. Alright, almost done. This game is sort of like Burnout. Kinda. I've seen the movie. But there's a part in this that is like for perfectionists only. And it really took me over 100 tries to beat. And that's Driven. You really have to be a master. And I mean a master at driving games to beat this game. It's so unforgiving. Very unforgiving. You have to know where each where you're going when you're racing in each area, and that is difficult because you have to know this game from heart to like even get past it. And there's some parts where you have to like move slowly to turn at least somewhat decent. It's really bullcrap. But other than that, it's okay. I'll say it's better than the movie at least. And the movie was whatever. Alright, last GameCube game. This game I want to love more than I did. To this day, I still have not beaten this game without cheat codes. And that's X-Men 2 Wolverines Revenge. Man. Unforgiving as well. Barely any checkpoints. See a pattern here? Barely any checkpoints. Makes the game harder. Yeah. I played this on... I don't even know if there's even a difficulty setting on this game. But I remember playing it on easy, and it really was like... Again, your health really depletes fast. And there's even some parts where I'm like, how do you even get through this without dying? Because you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level. And it's so hard. Especially like the first part where you have to sneak through in the snow from those enemies. Because if you don't use your like sense, you wouldn't know that you would get caught later on. I think it has a similar problem with Aquaman, honestly. Where people just get ground up on you. It's just like... I don't know. It's a decent game, though. And Mark Hamill as Wolverine is pretty cool. But man... I couldn't beat this without cheat codes. I feel like this is one of the only ways to beat it. And I'm not the only one, apparently, that has this issue. Because a bunch of other people had this issue with beating the game. It's tough. Especially the boss battles really pissed me off. Because you have to jump at one, and another one where you fight one of the other guys. The mind control guy, I forgot his name. That was upsetting because the game was so dark too, you didn't know where to go. But that may have been because of my TV. But yeah, it was a good game, but angered me so bad. Really bad. Alright. Oh, another one I figured I might add is Maximo Ghosts and Goblins. Because the life system in this game is very weird. It's like... You really have to take care of your lives in this game, or else it's like completely game over. For real. But it is a good game, but it's very, very difficult. I beat it though, so that's something. And this is kind of, not really cheating, but we have a Game Boy Advance game, the only one I'll talk about, and that's Teen Titans 2 for the Game Boy Advance. Remember the first Teen Titans game for the Game Boy Advance? If any of you are playing that? Imagine that. But 1 trillion times more enemies and less health. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. The sequel of this gives you less health than the first game. And it, like, they kill you easily. Easier than the first game. So like it's like similar with Naruto Clash of Ninja. They're probably like, oh, the game isn't so hard. We should make it harder. But they made it very hard. That's the problem. Now, it's an alright game if you can get used to it. But I will warn you, if you play the second Teen Titans game on Game Boy Advance, be prepared to rage. Alright? You might not even beat it. I beat it because I had a lot of patience. It's more of a game that really tests your patience. Similar with this game. Brutal Legend. Now, don't get me wrong, Brutal Legend, amazing game. Me and my brother had a lot of fun with this game. You know what part really sucked though? The tower defense parts. Where you had to get a bunch of enemies and destroy the towers. On easy mode, it's a walk in the park, but a very long walk in the park. On medium or hard, it's like... I feel like it's impossible on medium or hard. Because we tried on normal, and it felt like we were going through the same thing with the enemies and the tower defense. We felt like we were doing that for an hour. We were playing it. It just kept going on and on and on and on. We felt like nothing was getting destroyed. We switched it to easy mode. And then it's like, oh, it did it. So I don't know what's up with this. If we're doing something wrong, or if there's a certain strategy to those tower defense. The tower defense parts don't kill the game, but I don't know why they were added. I feel like they could have had something else with it. But it is a good game, and I do hope that one day we get a sequel. And last but not least is actually a game that I bought in the hype of. My friend wanted me to buy this. Even when we were playing together, it's still difficult and it seems really impossible. And that's Back for Blood for PS4. I really should have not spent so much on the big box because it has cards. It uses a card system. I should mention that this game uses a card system, and I don't understand that card system. But it's supposed to give you cards to help you later on. And it's like, once you die, I think twice, with any of your teammates, that's it. You have to do the entire, like, not just the level, but, like, the entire, like, world all over again. So, when I did that, I was like, you know what, screw that. I still might give it another chance, because maybe I'm missing something here. But I don't know. I felt like this game really could have been so much better. You know, it just seems like another game where it's like, oh, you have to remember where certain things are. But I'll give it another chance one day, because, you know, that's how I am. Alright, so one game I wanted to add before I close this video is, I forgot to mention, Hard Vendetta was another one on the Gamecube that was kind of hard. It was actually near the end, where you're like in the building and stuff, and also like near the Los Angeles, where they're like, it was like the final battle, like one of the final levels, like that part, and you had to like figure out how to disarm the bomb on top, and everyone was shooting at you. Yeah, hard game, but I do like this game. Kind of a forgotten Gamecube game. I think this was originally meant for the PC, as far as I know, or one of those things. But yeah, that was another one I forgot to mention. Anyway, that's all the games that I could think of from top of my memory. I couldn't think of any Wii games that were like particularly hard or anything like that. But I wanted to do this video for a very long time. Just talking about games that just make me want to pull my hair out for the longest time. And if any of y'all have games that made you pissed off, feel free to leave me in the comments of games that really angered you for any way, shape, or form. And maybe some of these games that I talked about were not hard to you. Maybe I'm just a weird gamer. I don't know. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Great, interesting idea I had. Hope y'all enjoyed. And hope to see y'all real soon. So yeah, take care.